all the participants. Very good evening to all of you. I welcome on behalf of Manage for this Manage International Conference on Agricultural Extension and Advisory Services, Innovation to Impact. Today with us, Dr. PVK Sachidhar is a professor in the School of Extension and Development Studies, Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. He was a postdoctoral fellow at NAM, Hyderabad during 2000 to 2003, Norman Borlaug Fellow of USDA and USCA in 2008, and USAID Fellow at Michigan State University, USA in 2015. He has served in Agriculture Research Service of Indian Council of Agriculture Research at Izzat Nagar with research, teaching, extension, and training assignments. He has visited various universities and research laboratories in Australia, United States of America, Bangladesh, and UAE and Cambodia. His research interests centers primarily on evaluation of extension advisory services, veterinary service delivery, and improving veterinary education. He received research and development grants from various national and international organizations and won awards like Junior Research Fellow, Senior Research Fellow, and 4 Young Scientist Award and Norman Borlaug International Agriculture Science and Technology Fellow Award of USDA. He served as a member in subgroup on HRD, Human Resource Development, Training and Accreditation of Planning Commission for the 12th year. Currently, he is developing a PG Diploma in Animal Welfare in collaboration with University of Edinburgh and PG Diploma in Corporate Social Responsibility. And with us today, he is going to present about, Dr. Professor Sachidhar will present on evaluation of extension advisory services in contract and non-contract broiler farming, implication for policy decisions. Yeah, Professor Sachidhar, please carry on.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Servan. Respected DG Manage, Dr. Chandrasekhara, Conference Organizing Secretary, Dr. Sharvan, and my fellow panelists and respected participants from India and abroad. Welcome to this session. And first, I will be presenting on evaluation of extension advisory services in contract and non-contract broiler farming and the implications for policy decisions. And this will be followed by 4 presentations from the panelists. I request Kaushik to share the PowerPoint. As a part of modernizing extension advisory services, the United States Agency for International Development, they called for proposals, and then we submitted, myself and Professor Murari Subedi, we submitted a proposal to USAID, and we got this grant, and we evaluated extension advisory services and technical performance of both contract and non-contract broiler farming systems. So in this presentation, I'll be focusing more on extension advisory services, which are more relevant to the theme of the conference. Coming back to the contract farming systems, this presentation is more pertinent today because there are agitations going on in National Capital Region of India related to contract farming systems. Whether it is broiler farming or any other agricultural commodity, if a farmer wants to do the farming, basically there are 2 options. One is doing the business on their own, doing the farming on their own, and second is signing an agreement with the contract farming companies and then doing the contract. Next slide, please. So the contract broilers, they do sign an agreement with the company, but they do have land, or whether it is own land or leased land. In both the systems, farmer has to bear it, and then labor, electricity, disinfection, and litter material also farmer has to bear, and working capital in terms of chicks, feed, medicines, and vaccine, it is given to the contract broiler farmer by the integrator as a part of the contract, whereas in non-contract farming, it is to be borne by the farmer. Whereas extension advisory services and veterinary services are also borne by the integrator. Then marketing risk, which is an important issue, why farmers are getting attracted towards contract farming, is getting away from the marketing risk. So this is also borne by the integrator. Whereas in independent farming or non-contract farming, farmer has to bear all the working capital as well as regular day-to-day capital plus extension advisory services cost, plus extension services and veterinary services cost. In addition to that, marketing risk also need to be borne by the farmer on their own. Whereas in contract farming system, farmers are given a rearing charge. We call it as RC, the rearing charge, and rearing charge is either added or subtracted by incentives or penalties based on the performance of the farm. The performance includes the mortality percentage, usually allowed up to 5%. If more mortality is there, penalized, and if less mortality is there, there will be incentive. Likewise, feed conversion ratio, sale rate, etc. are added or subtracted to arrive net rearing charge. And it is not applicable in non-contract broiler farming, whereas the returns to farmer is almost fixed in contract broiler farming, whereas in non-contract broiler farming, it depends on the market. Next slide, please. In contract broiler farming systems, the research questions and objectives with which we conducted this study includes, do contract and non-contract farmers incur significantly different production and marketing cost and different marketing margins? Does the provisions of extension advisory services by companies enable contract farmers to make better profits than non-contract farmers? Have assured markets, competitive price, and guarantee against risk resulted in successful value chain development or not? And are the value chain development and provision of extension advisory services by the companies, whether it is really a win-win situation for both integrators and the farmers, or these are only a socially acceptable way of exploiting the farmers? To address these research questions, we formulated these objectives to assess the demographics, physical and human resources, inputs, and extension advisory services, to evaluate the technical and economic performance, and to compare farmers' perception on inputs and outputs, extension advisory services, and SWOT issues. Next slide, please. In order to focus more on extension advisory services, I will restrict myself on evaluation findings related to extension advisory services and its implications for policy decision. The study was undertaken in India's 3 states, Karnataka, Telangana, and Andhra Pradesh, where 85% of commercial broiler farming is under contract farming. For a comparison, we selected 120 non-contract farmers also. And for the qualitative data, we conducted focus group discussion on general and specific extension advisory services on chicks, feed, medication, and management practices that were advocated, verified, and recorded. Next slide, please. How we operationalized the extension advisory services. We operationalized them in terms of frequency, efficiency, and intention, plus economics of extension advisory services. Frequency includes rarely, occasionally, frequent, and very frequently, whereas efficiency of extension advisory services was measured in terms of an index that consists of applicability of EAS, understandability of the message or treatment, the frequency or timeliness, the relevance of the extension advisory service, adequacy, usefulness, and technical know-how of EAS provider in terms of Likert 5-point continuum, whereas the intention of extension advisory services were measured in terms of information, information plus knowledge, information plus knowledge and skill, knowledge, skill, and attitude change. Finally, we also evaluated the economics of extension advisory services in both the systems, that is the rupees, Indian rupees per kg of live chicken produced. Next slide, please. The frequency of utilization of EAS includes integrator was the sole source of extension advisory service in contract broiler farming as part of contract agreement. Whereas in non-contract broiler farming, the main source were the private poultry consultants, whereas they used to go to others like self-service. Over the years, they get the experience of broiler farming, so they are doing many of the management practices on their own. Sometimes they go to government veterinary doctor on payment basis, government research station staff, and government veterinary doctor free of cost also. Next slide, please. In terms of efficiency of extension advisory services, that includes the applicability, understandability, frequency, timeliness, etc. Overall, the mean values, the mean efficiency of extension advisory services in contract broiler farming is significantly higher than non-contract farming system. Thereby, we can conclude that efficiency of extension advisory services are much better in contract farming system compared to non-contract farming system. Next slide, please. Coming to the intention of extension advisory services, the provision of information, it was pursued by 15% in contract farmers, whereas 26% in non-contract farmers, whereas more than half of the farmers in contract farming, they said the provision of information plus knowledge, whereas in non-contract farming, it was provision of information, knowledge, and skills. Whereas economics of extension advisory service, this is more important issue because the farmer's readiness to pay for the private provision of extension advisory services. They are free of charge in contract broiler farming as part of the overall agreement, whereas in non-contract broiler farming, it is roughly half rupee per kg of live chicken produced. Next slide, please. The extension advisory services under contract farming are part of, like for example, the free EAS are integrated with input services. That is, we can call it as extension advisory and input services. The general and specific management practices, including chicks, feed, medication, and vaccines are provided. And extension advisory services are provided by the line supervisors on daily basis, except on Sundays and public holidays for all 6 weeks of the birds rearing in a poultry farm. The poultry veterinarian from the company visit the farm if there is a disease outbreak or when there is an unusual mortality, and it is complete and accurate farm records. It is a significant feature of the contract farming system. The farm records includes the mortality of the birds on daily basis, the feed conversion ratio on daily basis, the growth, feed consumption, medicines, vaccines administered, etc. are recorded on daily basis. This is a significant feature of contract broiler farming system. For instance, when you see the Feed Safety and Standard Authority of India regulations released by Government of India, traceability of the product is important for both consumption internally as well as for the export purpose. Contract broiler farming system is providing the traceability aspect by what you called a complete and accurate farm records. And submission of flock record is mandatory at flock liquidation. On the right side, you will find the farmer's flock record, which contains each and everything that includes chicks, then feed, medicine, vaccines, etc. given to the farm in 5 to 6 weeks of age before the flock liquidation. Next slide, please. The general extension advisory services in contract broiler farming includes the shed preparation, fumigation, disinfection before chick arrival as per company norms, then ventilation of the shed and feed rooms, strict biosecurity measures in terms of cleanliness, food dip, then dead pit and fencing, then water sanitation and quality, pH, sanitizer name and dose also is what you call advocated and recorded. Then the cleaning, both water tanks as well as the drinkers, it is compulsory twice a week, whereas water pipes are to be cleaned once in a week. The litter management, racking daily and keeping litter dry with less than 20% of moisture, because these are measured by the line supervisors on day-to-day basis when they visit the farm. In addition to that, they have summer and winter management practices also. Next slide, please. The specific extension advisory services related to chicks includes supply of chicks, adequate brooding management with parameters such as space per chick, litter quality, source of heat, number of brooders or feeders or drinkers and their quality, then side and ceiling curtains and their height management. Then the chicks uniformity is recorded and they are weighed, then minimum weight and maximum weight are recorded and average weight and variation is also recorded. Based on this, suggestions for the feed is given to the farmer. Then a separation of small and weak chicks at the end of first week for special care with more water, feed and vitamins, and daily mortality of the chicks or birds number and both in terms of percentage is also recorded along with the reasons. Next slide, please. On the basis of identified reasons, farmers are advised suitable management practices. Coming to the specific EAS related to feed. Feed constitute almost 70% of the expenditure in a poultry farm. Therefore, efficient extension advisory services in feed is noticed in contract broiler farming. That includes supply of starter, grower and finisher feed to fulfill the environmental, age and productivity conditions. And the feed and light restrictions are also advocated. Feeding schedules, then feed intake, body weight and feed conversion ratio, etc. are given advocacies based on a sample weight of 5% of the birds. Next slide, please. The specific extension advisory services related to medication and vaccines. On the right side, you can see in a 5 to 6 weeks of age in a poultry farm flock, these are all the vaccines and medicines given to the flock. So it is an what you call efficient, what you call the advocation of medicines and vaccination as well as record keeping related to both preventive vaccination as well as storage, then vaccination schedules, correct and timely medication also. Next slide, please. The additional extension advisory services in contract broiler farming includes the printing and distribution of EAS literature related to good management practices. Then best performing farmer award is given per month per branch wise and based on the grading at liquidation. Every batch is graded at the liquidation age of 30 to 35 days, and per month per branch best performing farmer is awarded, and they conduct trainings, on-farm demonstrations, peer trainings and exposure visits to top performing farms. Next slide, please. Extension advisory services, on the other hand, in non-contract broiler farming also, they are equally competent, provided by consultants. The general management practices are generally taken care of by the farmers themselves based on the experience, whereas specific management practices are provided on a payment basis, that is half rupee per kg of live chicken produced. And in non-contract broiler farming system, we found traditional hand record keeping, and they continue to work well in non-contract broiler farming system also. Next, please. So based on the evaluation of extension advisory services in both the systems, the conclusions that we can draw includes: at doorstep, freely the contract broiler farming has brought improved technical expertise, good management practices, effective extension advisory services, and input-output market linkages. All this has resulted in successful poultry value chain development. There was no involvement of any government machinery in contract broiler farming system. So with the participation of private sector, all these improved germplasm, then the feed and management practices, then medicines and vaccinations, along with input, output and market linkages are brought to what you call the doorstep of the poultry farms. And this is an example of successful poultry value chain development. Whereas non-contract broiler farmers are also getting effective extension advisory services at doorstep on payment of half rupee per kg of live chicken produced. So to be more effective, extension advisory services are to be integrated with input services. That is the result of this value chain development in contract broiler farming. Then we can call them as extension advisory and input services. This is an important takeaway point from the evaluation of this contract broiler farming system. Next slide, please. With private sector participation, poultry extension advisory services and input services, they have reached to 100% commercial poultry farmers with efficiency and effectiveness. In case of contract broiler farmers, they are provided by the poultry farming companies as a part of contract, whereas in non-contract broiler farming, they are provided by the private poultry consultants on a payment of a mere half rupee. And farmers are not minding to pay that amount because they are getting at doorstep the efficient and effective extension advisory services. When we compare the percentage of extension advisory services reach, it is only 5.1% in livestock sector. The other livestock sector that includes cattle and buffaloes and sheep and goat and of course pigs also, it is only 5.1% as per as recent NSSO data of Government of India. Whereas in agricultural extension advisory services, only 40.5% of farmers are receiving extension advisory services. Whereas in contract farming systems, in whether it is a contract broiler farming or you take any other contract farming systems, 100% extension advisory services with efficiency and effectiveness are reaching to the doorstep of the farmers. This is an effective and a successful model of modernization of extension advisory services with related input delivery as a complete package through the private sector that includes both backward as well as the forward linkages. This model of effective and efficient private provision of extension advisory services and inputs needs to be encouraged in other livestock production system and agricultural production systems also to develop entrepreneurship and value chain. Of course, there are some what you call lacunas in the contract broiler farming system. I will point out 3 to 4 major ones. First one is lack of regulation, because the farmers are slightly exploited with only what you call 4 rupees of kilo body weight rearing charge when there is no basis for that. And then second and major important issue is in terms of inclusiveness. The women farmers as well as the socially disadvantaged people are participating in contract broiler farming system as laborers only. They are not the owners, because when we studied the demographics of the both contract and non-contract broiler farmers, we came out with this result that both women as well as socially disadvantaged groups of the farmers, they are mostly serving as laborers in this system. When socially inclusive models of development, when it is the priority of the government, then contract broiler farming system is not the answer for that. Therefore, in order to be more inclusive driven and more women friendly and socially disadvantaged farmer friendly, we need to encourage them as owners of this system. And the last and most important is transfer of part of the what you call the profits earned by the companies to the farmers is also important. When broiler poultry rates are very high, those profits are not transferred to the poultry farmers, because with predetermined rates the farmers are given rearing charges. So if you say who are the beneficiaries of this contract farming system, I can tell number one is the contract farming companies, number two are the consumers. Because of the strict what you call monitoring and strict provision of the extension advisory services and input services, the poultry farmers are able to produce chicken at affordable prices, and the last priority and the last beneficiary is the farmer. Therefore, we recommended for a regulated expansion. So with the regulations, we need to what you call address this limitation, and definitely this will be a successful model. Next slide, please. So we thank USAID and Modernization Extension Advisory Services project of USAID, then Michigan State University and IGNU for providing this learning experience. And I also thank the reviewers, Professor S.V.N. Rao and Professor Roger Kiano from University of Philippines and River Puducherry. Thank you very much. And if any questions are there, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Dr. Sasi. Very interesting presentation.
There is one question from Dr. Navaneet Padwal. While constructing broiler shed, farmers will obtain an NOC from no objection certification from the Gram Panchayat or local authorities in Maharashtra. Some Gram Panchayat is giving only for 1 year NOC. Okay. And please guide regarding NOC and latest guidelines, anything related to this.
What happened of late is earlier, they never used to get any permissions from either Gram Panchayat or from the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. But nowadays, with the increasing pollution levels given by the poultry farms, because they release some ammonia and because of the soil and water contamination. So now pollution is a major issue. That's why government and then local panchayati level people also asking for the registration of the farms. Another thing is not only poultry farms, now almost all livestock enterprises need to be registered with the concerned authorities as per the FSSR regulations also. And related to registration timing, it depends it varies from state to state, and it may be 1 year for Maharashtra, but it varies. In other states, it is 5 years. In some states, even registration is also not required.
Another interesting question. How new farm acts affect the contract farming? From Mr. Vijay Kumar, from Dr. Vijay Kumar from DPR.
Yeah, this is an interesting question. Just like any other multilateral companies, the big contract farming companies, the big poultry contract farming companies, they are leaving no room for many times to the independent farmers. Those who are in independent farming business for what you call the decades together also, because of contract farming came into existence, many of them have been converted into contract farmers, or else they closed down the operations. Why? Because the same contract farming companies are also the suppliers of chicks, then feed, then medicines and vaccinations also. They give chicks first to the contract company farmers, and then only they give the chicks to the non-contract farmers. So there are limitations also in terms of procurement of inputs, and gradually small farmers are winding up their business, and either they are joining contract companies or with great difficulty they are doing this business. Why? Because in economics terms, when contract farmer was getting only 10 rupees per bird, that is roughly 4 rupees per kg body weight, they are, at the end of 6 weeks, they're roughly reaching 2.5 kilos, so they get 10 rupees. Whereas non-contract farmer is getting 17 rupees. That profit margin, but there is a risk of marketing also. But along with that risk, they're getting profit margin of 7 rupees more, almost 70% more returns they are getting compared to contract farmer. That's why they are continuing in the business. But this is a pertinent question. If the regulations are there from government side, probably there could be a win-win situation between both of them.
Dr. Magitar, you have any questions?
Yes, sir. Already,
Yeah,
sir.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir has suggested the same point. At the demand time, there is non-availability of chicks, and marketing problems of end produce is the major problems to the farmers who are doing the non-contract broiler farming. So same, sir, has been conveyed, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
One-
Dr.
one
Sasi. Thank you for
important
interesting.
issue- Yeah, one
Sasi,
important
please go
issue here is even contract broiler farmers are also unhappy with the number of batches that they are getting from the company. On an average, they are getting 5, whereas they are demanding for 6 to 7. So we recommended a minimum of 6 in order to meet the expenditure. For instance, for one bird to be reared, they need to invest 150 rupees. So for 10,000 birds, if they want to rear, they need to invest 15 lakh rupees as a what you call one-time investment for shed construction, then procurement of instruments like waterers, feeders, and other things. So to get the what you call to pay the bank interest also, they need to have more batches. But as you said rightly, companies depending on the market and then demand and supply, they reduce either chick production at the hatchery level, or else they're not giving more batches.
Okay, Dr. Sasi.
And one
Another
more
question
thing,
from
sir,
Yeah.
more thing, nowadays the contract farmers they are not supplying the medicines also, sir, regularly. When the farmer is afraid to get more weightage, so he is purchasing himself. Even from his incentive, he is spending some medication products to buy. So that is also becoming a disadvantage for them also. But now, even as you said rightly, even contract boiler farmer and non-contract boiler farmer both are unhappy in this scenario now.
Yeah.
Again, Vijay Kumar, there is a question. What is the scope of public-private partnership model in poultry sector? Public-private partnership.
Dr. Vijay, to my understanding, before joining IGNOU, I was in Agriculture Research Service in poultry sector only, in a poultry institute. So as far as government intervention is concerned, in commercial broiler poultry and commercial layer poultry, government intervention is almost nil. And without the government intervention, broiler farming companies have established, and then they are reaching out to the farmers, and they are doing either contract farming business or non-contract broiler farming business. But some regulations are required here. And in terms of public-private partnerships, there is a scope for what you call backyard poultry. And another important issue is other avian species like guinea fowl, turkey, or ducks. They need some support from government, or else the public-private partnerships. So this can be worked out.
Dr. Sasi, another general question, not necessarily it is related to fisheries.
Yeah.
And in the contract farming at regulation level, is it possible to link farmers' price as a percentage of the retail price of any agriculture produce?
Yeah, I think this is a very, very pertinent question, not only to the broiler poultry. For instance, I will explain broiler poultry so that the participants, they will come to know. When the market price is above the production cost, for instance, for companies, they fix the production cost based on working out all the input cost. So when we conducted this study, it was roughly around 56 rupees per kg chicken producer. So based on that, farmers, if they meet this production cost, they get 4 rupee per kilo body weight. But when the market rate of live chicken increases, for example, 150 to 160 rupees, then farmers are transferred only 10 paisa of the 10 rupees. And there is also a cap. If, for example, during peak demand stage, if chick price grows, market cost grows to 300 rupees, then farmer will get only 2 rupees, that maximum cap. It is not that 10 paisa or 10% of every 10 rupees they will not get. So this is at the most, whether the market rate is 200 or 300 or 400, farmer will get 4 rupees plus 2 rupees as an incentive only. So our recommendation was to transfer some percentage of profit to the farmers. Maybe you put that percentage as 1% or 2% so that farmers will get that benefit out of it. Otherwise, the most of the profits are taken away by the companies, whereas their millions of birds are reared in different locations without any problem to the biosecurity, without any problem to the what you call demand supply principle. Across states their birds are reared, and without having any liability towards the poultry farm construction, like that is the fixed capital. So there is a strong need for transfer of a part of profit. Maybe it can be worked out from commodity to commodity, maybe 10%, 5% or 15%. Then farmers and then companies are also will be what you called a level playing field, and this will be a win-win situation for both of them.
Yeah. Thank you, Sasi, for interesting question and also presentation. And thank you very much.